What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where comedian Tim Keck and I talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name's Kevin Bauer, and today we have a very, very, very special episode. Tim Keck texted me in the dead of night, a man on a mission. He was driven. He was on a mission from God. He, had spoken to a higher power. He'd convened, and he'd said, Tim, you got to do a podcast about the final battle from Avengers Endgame. Not the whole movie. Not the whole movie. People have heard it. They don't want to hear a podcast about the whole movie. Just the final battle. You got to do it. Tim texts this to me. I'm apprehensive. I'm like, Tim, this movie's been out 2 years, coming up on 3 years at this point. People don't want to hear it. Tim says no. They do want to hear it. They want to hear it so bad.
And they want to hear it from us. It's time, Kevin. I'm telling you, I've been flying all over the country. You know me. I travel. I'm on tour all the time, which is what I call visiting families and attending weddings on tour. And every time I'm on a plane, the only good movie that they have on JetBlue right now is Endgame. I don't know. Any flight I go on, you can get Avengers Endgame. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how short your flight is. If it's a long flight, you can, what they should have, if you're flying from New York to LA, they should have Infinity War and Endgame. So you can just straight up back to back it and land like right as Endgame ends. Like that's the dream. But if you've got a short flight, you got an hour to kill. I've just been throwing on the last hour of Endgame and it's incredible. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. It's the most important moment in movie history for me. And so I thought, Disney Plus, they've got this fun, cool stream feature. So me and Kevin Bauer are going to hit play and we're just going to riff during this thing. So if you want to join us, you can. Kevin, do you remember what the timestamp was?
I sure do. We got this puppy queued up to 2:06:45. That's 2 hours, 6 minutes and 45 seconds into this movie.
Spoiler alerts for Endgame, obviously. This Nerdy for 30, half an hour from now, Tony Stark is going to die. We're all going to cry. And then we're going to turn this podcast off and just not finish the rest of the movie. So that's our plan. If you want to sync up with us, please do. This is going to start with Iron Man waking up in Captain America. Kevin, are you ready?
I am so ready, Tim. Let's do this.
Sync up. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Best moment of my life. Kevin, you were telling me about Game of Thrones, about Marvel, Endgame all coming out at the same time.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude, Game of Thrones was one of the most epic TV shows that had ever been attempted. And up until the final season had, the quality, the scope, it was off the charts. The fact that Game of Thrones and the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we knew it were going to be coming to an end at the same time, it was absurd. Lauren and I, my girlfriend, we used to talk about it all the time, how there was no way in hell that of the two, Marvel was going to pull off the better ending. Here we are. We're in it right now.
Here we fucking are, dude, with the big three. We got Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. Fat Thor for some reason. but he looks pissed. He is ready to go. I love Fat Thor so much. Dude, the big three standing here is like fucking chills. My hair's standing up. I've seen this 30 times. This moment right here is maybe one of the most hardcore things I've ever seen in my life. Lightning bolt, 2 hammers. Are you kidding me, dude? He's got both hammers. What the fuck is going to go on? His hair is all braided. This is incredible.
Okay, Fat Thor took a lot of shit when this movie first came out because people assumed that it was being played as a joke. After that, Taika and Chris Hemsworth both. Well,
clearly a joke. It wasn't a dramatic role that Thor took a dramatic turn with his.
But it was intentional. They had an intent with it. They wanted to show that he had fallen on hard times. They wanted to show specifically with the scene. The scene between Thor and his mom in this movie makes me weep every time I see it. And the idea, I think anybody who didn't end up where they thought they were going to be in life can relate to that scene. Brought me to tears when he was still able to call Mjolnir and he was still worthy. So the fact that when the lightning strikes him, he doesn't just turn back into shredded Chris Hemsworth. He stays the Thor that he is now because this Thor that he is now is worthy. I like the message.
My thoughts on that. I remember reading that Chris Hemsworth initially was supposed to turn back into ripped Thor, but just liked fat Thor so much that they ended up sticking with it throughout the movie. And I think it's a really fascinating choice that initially I was upset about. But so in this scene here, the end of Infinity War, Thor shows up and it's like, fuck, Thanos doesn't stand a chance. He's got Stormbreaker. Thor's here. You guys are screwed. That's what the Hulk's yelling. And Thor almost beats Thanos. See here, I love it. He's got 2 swings. They both go for the head. Have you never noticed that?
Oh,
you know what the big
beautiful.
It's like a running thing in here where like Thanos is like, Thor, you should have gone for the head. And in this movie, like the first fight scene, his first 2 strikes are just aimed at Thanos' head. It's incredible. So like if Thor is jacked and he's not fat Thor right now, is he kicking Thanos' ass? Or is his fatness and the fact that he hasn't done shit in 5 years like part of the reason why they aren't able to beat Thanos right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I think this is because, I mean, he's fucking powerful as hell. Like we are seeing Thor right now more powerful than we've ever seen him. I think
he's not more powerful right now in this moment than he was at the end of Infinity War. Infinity War at the end is the most powerful when he is. No, this is a power down.
I absolutely think he is. No, I think this is a powered up Thor.
Strong
I take his
disagree.
hesitance right now to be him being like nervous. This is the most important thing that he has ever done, will ever do. Everything is on the line right now. And this is a Thor that's coming off of a very bad track record. So, I mean, this is a Thor that has the yips.
Okay, I strongly disagree, but this scene right now, by the way, this is like the coolest Hawkeye is in any of these movies. He just battled all these underground guys. He's got his arrows out, the whole like, I know you, hands are the gauntlet, so funny. And now what's her face is about to shoot herself. This is crazy. What a mind fuck. Really, she's a pretty great character.
This is like as far away from anything that Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye has ever seen as it could possibly be. Like he's standing in a room with 3 space aliens, 1 green woman, 2 blue women who appear to be the same person.
And then Nebula caps herself. This is crazy.
I mean, he's just kind of like the fact that he's just huddled in a corner watching all this and he's not trying to do anything is so relatable.
He's not a part of this. I mean, this is also super sad. And then he's just like picks it up and like hugs it. He's just like, okay, well, I don't want anything for this. So
here we go. More building from the first movie.
I agree with you. The stakes are the highest they've ever been for Thor in this moment right here. This is everything. This is redemption for him. But physically, in body, he is not prepared for this fight the way he was at the end of Infinity War. He came in guns blazing. He was the strongest he's ever been at the end of Infinity War. And now he's a pale imitation of himself. I mean, that's a cool move, but ripped Thor would have ended it right now. God.
I don't know, man. I agree to disagree. But this is also fully in the range where like we knew that not all these actors were coming back, but we didn't know who was going to live and who was going to die. So right. I remember being so tense this entire scene, thinking like this right here when the axe is getting driven into his chest. I was like, this is going to fucking be it. This is how Thor's going out.
This is this moment right here is the most insane thing I've ever seen in any movie ever. This is the biggest pop. God, we're watching it with the sound off and I can barely contain myself. This is the coolest fucking thing. Captain America picking up the hammer. God, like we knew it was coming, but this is a pop. This is a pop beyond pops. God, and they just like that Captain America shot too of him hitting Thanos.
This one right here where hits the shield, hits Thanos. When he slams him down onto the ground and then calls the lightning down onto him. This right here pulls the lightning up from the ground and then down from the sky. Crowd went absolutely fucking insane.
Captain America
immediately right now I was like, oh, this is where he dies.
Oh, he's dead. Captain America is such a fascinating character because power tier wise, he is not in the same class as these other two guys. It's Batman fighting Doomsday. It doesn't make any sense. There's no logic. There's no logical reason why Captain America should be able to withstand anything from Thanos, except it's the shield, which Thanos is in the process of absolutely destroying right now. And then the hammer, which he's worthy. So he's got these two weapons that he can finally do something with. I mean, it's really crazy.
But I mean, that's what makes him such a compelling character. This is consistent characterization from Captain America: The First Avenger. This is the kid getting the shit kicked out of him in an alley behind a movie theater and still getting up. This is, I know they already burned the line earlier in this movie, but this is his, I can do this all day moment.
Yeah.
It's the fact that no matter what, he will always get back up off the ground to keep fighting as long as there's.
That's a great point, because we don't see Iron Man and Thor getting up right now. We see them, we're going to see them in a minute, kind of getting ready. But Captain America's thing is that he always gets back up. So they make a point of showing see him getting knocked down and seeing him stand back up. And this moment right here, I was so crazy, where Captain America is literally by himself, standing in the face of an impending army, facing down Doom. I mean, other characters really do these things. The gorilla things are very cool. The other characters do things like this, but Captain America's an embodiment of this ideal. This is Captain America's character. It's not necessarily other superheroes' characters, which is crazy, because you'd think of this as just a generic superhero quality, right? Iron Man flies a missile into a black hole in the first Avengers movie, but that's not the same as Captain America getting to his feet, strapping on his shield, and getting ready to die. I don't know why. It's different somehow.
Dude, it means more. It's why Batman is arguably the greatest superhero of all time. It's the fact that he's a human doing it makes it more important.
Yeah. God, the shot's insane. This moment, God, the whole end of this movie is filled with so many iconic moments. Sam coming back and saying "on your left," and then the portal opens up on Captain America's left. Fucking chills, man. Insane. Dude, so cool.
We just got done taping the Ghostbusters podcast where I was talking about how Marvel, they're the masters of, Easter eggs, cameos, callbacks, things like that. And it's because they know the exact rhythm to use when you're doing it. They know exactly the way to deploy it. That on your left moment, maybe the best of all time. The amount of best of all time things that are happening. Seeing Chadwick Boseman right now, I want to cry.
But they make a conscious choice. You hear the line from Falcon, but the first person you see is Black Panther, which is such a good choice, because if you hear Falcon and then see Falcon, that's not a pop. People aren't popping for seeing Falcon, but the line is just a callback that they do. And then the visual of Black Panther, which is a way more powerful visual at this point than the Falcon showing up. Yeah. Black Panther walking out. Insane. It's so good. And this, one of the reasons why this is the most rewatchable stuff ever is throughout this fight now, everything from this on out is just layered, and they're resolving storylines, and the connections between everybody are so good. God, the way everybody interacts in this is insane. It's insane. It's just crazy. So layered with callbacks and other references. Fucking Pepper Potts is here for some reason.
That's maybe my one flaw with this. I don't know that I could have used one more scene explaining that Pepper got the armor, or
Giant
had trained with it at all.
Dude, what was the suit called? Remember the old God, what was
Iron
it?
Patriot?
Yeah, the Iron Patriot suit, which was beat up in Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. And he just comes out of the rubble with that. Also, crazy choice of Chris Evans to whisper assemble in this. I liked it. I like his delivery, but how much do you think he worked on the delivery for this line here? How much time do you think he spent thinking about this?
He has 200 options. Real quick, I want to highlight this right now too, because we see Giant Man, we see the armies rushing forward. We see Thanos right now pointing the whirligig sword that he has, and the dark armies are rushing forward. The giant whale things are flying through the sky. And I highlight all this because in every other movie like this that we have ever seen up to this point in our lives, as soon as the armies collide, we cut to aftermath. And in this movie, the fact that they cut to another shot, we started seeing the battle happening. I was like, oh my God, dude. I like a full chill ran over my entire body when we saw it in the theater, because it was like, we're actually going to get to see it. We're actually going to get to see the battle.
I couldn't believe that we were getting to see it. I was like, for sure, we're going to cut away from this. Like, no part of me was mentally prepared to witness this greatness.
Fine with that. I was okay with us cutting away
cool
because of how cool it was set up.
But then they straight up show us this most insane fight ever. Dude, Giant Man punching that guy is one of the most badass things I've ever seen. It's the kind of thing where it's like, it reminded me how far this franchise has come. Right? When the first Avengers movie, it was like, how do we defeat these flying things? And in this one, it's just Paul Rudd just punches one in the face and destroys it instantly. I mean, this is crazy. Gosh, and Spider-Man shows up. It's crazy to
Spider-Man
think that
and Iron Man reuniting right now.
This whole movie hinges on the relationship between Iron Man and Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
The only reason Tony Stark comes back is because he feels bad that Spider-Man died. Like, that's it. That's the only reason this movie even happens, because otherwise he has a perfect life. Everything about his life is perfect. He's better off now than he was before the blip. He's got a family. He's got a daughter. He loves his life. But the one thing that's nagging him is this kid that he like kind of adopted in a way. His mentee, man, died, gone. Now we're watching a reunion between Star-Lord and Gamora, but it's a younger Gamora. I mean, this is so fucking complicated, Kevin. The level of like attention that was put into this fight is outrageous. And they're like, Chris Pratt, we need Chris Pratt. We need you to do a cool 30 seconds. And he comes in with the most Chris Pratt stuff ever, which is a joke about getting kicked in the nuts. yeah, exactly. This is the most Chris Pratt. He walked off the Parks and Rec set, you know, put this jacket on and just got kicked in the nuts. And it was the same energy.
Dude, as soon as he got the role of Star-Lord, he was like, haha, I bet my days of getting kicked in the nuts are over. All these little moments. So what I think is amazing, we just saw the like Gamora and Star-Lord reunion thing, and it's set up. It's incredible that in the middle of this battle, not only are they resolving storylines, but they're also setting up storylines for future movies. Like that just set up Guardians 3. And like at the same time, we get the like fun little character interactions between like, you know, Captain America and Thor, like calling back the wrong weapon and then Thor tossing him Mjolnir and being like, you take the little one. I mean, it's just this beautiful blend of like, I don't know, things ending, things beginning. It's wonderful.
It is even the little one.
Evangeline Lilly. She's an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, apparently she is. She's attending anti-vax rallies and shit.
Huge bummer.
Good for her. standing up for our rights.
Avengers Endgame. Every time she gets asked to put on a mask in Starbucks.
This is her Endgame. Man.
Doctor Strange and Iron Man.
Isn't it crazy that Ant-Man doesn't have wings? Like, why doesn't Ant-Man have wings? He could, but ants don't have. I mean, there are ants with wings, but it's just purely a cosmetic choice that he doesn't have wings. But I find it crazy. His partner for a suit that he helped design has wings, but Ant-Man doesn't. He has to be carried around.
It's just because in the comics, the Wasp was a mutant, so the wings were just part of her mutation, not the...
That was like ultimate...
The costume itself.
That was ultimate storyline. That was an original storyline. She wasn't a... No, that's not OG. She's not a mutant OG. Dang, okay, I'll have to Google it. Dude, Black Panther crushes it in this movie. Black Panther powers, incredible. This whole like absorbing like everybody gets to flex and do the thing they do. We get to see the Black Panther suit for like a second, and we see it do the badass thing that makes him Black Panther. Oh my God. And this moment too, amazing. Scarlet Witch showing up to fight Thanos. This is a culmination of like, she lost the love of her life at the end of the last movie. I forgot completely about it. And now she's like, I finally get to avenge the Vision here. And she killed, I think Paul, what are the Russos said in an interview that if Thanos doesn't call down thunder, Scarlet Witch is killing Thanos right here.
Yeah, I totally buy it.
Scarlet Witch is the most powerful. She could straight up rip Thanos. She's going to rip Thanos in half unless they do something.
Dude, that line of like,
this death,
I don't even know who you
amazing.
are.
Instant death. Spider-Man finally activates instant kill. Oh my God, that's so awesome. That's another call. It's like they just have all these insane layered callbacks in this. It's outrageous. Scarlet Witch absolutely crushing right now, destroying, super terrifying. I mean, she doesn't look this cool. This is the coolest Scarlet Witch looks or is. Like, even in her own show, her powers she's not kicking ass like this in her show.
No. Dude, I feel like this is one of the relatively rare moments in the MCU phases like 1 through 3 where they really just fucking unleash. Like, they do a really good job of making sure that even if you haven't seen any of the other movies, when you watch one of the Marvel movies from phases 1 through 3, you can pretty much catch up with what's going on. This final battle scene is one of the first times where they're like, fuck it, we're not explaining anything. Everyone's just going to do what you already know they can do.
But at a base level, it's a fight. So you don't care. I mean, if this is somehow the only movie you've seen, you're just like, wow, this is a cool fight. But if you've watched all these other movies, which, I mean, damn it, you should have watched. If you're watching this movie cold turkey without seeing any of these other Marvel movies, you're a terrible human being and you're the reason why our planet's the way it is. Fuck you. I wish nothing but ill will on you. You're a terrible person. Yeah. I don't understand these people where people are like, yeah, I like Marvel movies. Like I saw Ant-Man and it's like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. If you like Marvel movies, you see them all. Don't give me this. I like Marvel and then watch like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like, oh wow, dude, I got. Yeah. It's bullshit.
I love Succession. I saw season 2, episode 4. It was great.
It's crazy. This is a TV show now. Okay, so this right here, Rocket covers Groot when everything's blowing up, and I think that's like such an amazing moment. When Hulk snaps the Infinity Gauntlet, we see Thor push Rocket behind him, and Rocket puts on his goggles, and he's like, "Okay, I get it. You're way stronger than me. I'm hiding behind you or whatever." But in this moment, when his life is on the line, Groot, who we've seen just be able to like rebud and like come out of nowhere, turn to a new sprung, he's throwing his body on him to protect his companion, his young companion, his best friend, who's like in a childlike state. It's just his best incredible.
Friend's son. James Gunn confirmed that is Groot's son.
Oh, well, I guess that kind of makes sense. Now, Captain Marvel's blasting through this spaceship. Here's my question for you, Kevin. Couldn't any of the other Avengers have done this before Captain Marvel got here? Couldn't Thor have taken down that spaceship? Couldn't Iron Man have taken down the spaceship?
I think specifically the way Captain Marvel's powers work, it makes her a great candidate to do that. Like, I think the fact that she has this boiling energy around her, she can just carve through something where like Iron Man, he's super powerful, but still his suit's made of metal and he would be coming up against all these different layers of this ship, whereas she gets to just cleave straight through it.
But Thor couldn't summon his hammer through it. He couldn't throw his hammer through it. He couldn't lightning bolt this thing. I mean, I think you can work around it where like she's coming out of the sky and all these other people are being like kind of bombarded with this stuff and they're already being attacked, and there's ways around this. And then they got like I think it works. Kind of like a haphazard like feminist moment where we get to see how good Marvel is at like making cool women, which seems a little forced to me, in my opinion, but still it is kind of an interesting flex when you're comparing it to DC and other movies. It's like, they've done a good job with a lot of these like female characters. I don't know why Mantis is here. I don't know what Mantis is going to do to like help Captain Marvel, blast through a crowd. But
well, I think it's, people online had a lot of shit to talk about that moment, but I think it's good. Like, I think it's allowed to be a little bit forced because we're allowed to kind of correct the course that humanity has been on for a long time in terms of representation and in entertainment. So I was completely okay with it. It's like, how many times has every superhero I've seen on screen been male and I haven't batted an eyelash? So I do think it's what made it seem a little bit like they were kind of patting themselves on the back too much is the fact that they didn't actually put the work in to like highlight the characters that were showing in that scene enough, but I do think it's a good statement of intent. And since Endgame, we have seen them highlight a lot more female characters. And I mean, shit, man, I'm so excited about like specifically like Kate Bishop and Yelena. Like I think they put a lot more work in going forward.
I guess my question then is, does it work differently if it's not all of the women? What if it's just like the top 5 or 6 and they're all standing there? It's like the Scarlet Witch, you get the Wasp, you get all the like ass kickers. Like, why is Mantis? There's no reason for Mantis to be there. But like Gamora, you know, you get the heavy hitters out there doing their thing. Pepper Potts in this weird Iron Man suit. I don't know. I think there's maybe a way that makes it work better, but I agree that it didn't really bother me when I first watched it. It's just now I've been so consumed by all the other intent. So, okay, here's my other question. How long did Iron Man plan in advance to be able to get the gems like this? Like, did he have a hunch that this was going to happen? How much did Tony Stark know before coming into this scene right here? Because he had to invent a technology that would set up the Infinity Gauntlet like that, right?
Oh, being able to steal the gems off of his gauntlet.
Yeah, he needed that technology. So he must have planned that in some capacity, right? Or is it just a thing his suit can do?
I don't know if it's responding to his thoughts or what. It seems almost at this point like it's responding to his thoughts. I'm just going to choose to assume that.
It's responding to his thought. But like this, it goes right into place. Like, I'm wondering is it possible that like before they set out on this adventure, Tony thought this was a possibility?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think so.
Because there's a resignation on his face. Incredible. There's a resignation on his face when Doctor Strange is like the one. And he seems to know, once Doctor Strange is like, this is it, he seems to know what that means, which this is it for him means he's got to do it. He's got to be the one who snaps. But it seems like he knows. It just, in my mind now, after rewatching it several times, it seems like he had this plan. This was plan G, like this was his last resort. But at a certain point, he realized this was the only way they win. But yeah, thinking that he planned for it, I think somehow makes it more powerful to me. You know?
Yeah.
It's not a spur of the moment thing. It's even like a contingency that he had. There was like intent behind it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
He's a planner. No, I think that fits with him. His entire thing, you know, he wanted to build the suit of armor around the world. He tries to plan for all those contingencies. The thing that moves me the most about when Pepper and Peter and Rhodey are all saying goodbye to him is that they are all wearing suits of armor that he made for them. He made this protective armor for all of his closest people.
Thanos here. Great characterization on Thanos when he loses and he's lost.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows he's defeated and he doesn't complain. He literally just sits down. He treats a loss the same way he treated a W, right?
Yeah.
It's like, dude's a sociopath. He's so binary and everything that he's like, I lost, and just immediate acceptance on his part. I lost. I sit down, whatever. I won. Cool. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be a farmer now. Like, I don't want anything else. It's crazy. Thanos is such a cool character. I mean, he's really just a fantastic villain.
Oh, he's awesome.
But yeah, you're right. They're all wearing the suits. Rhodey's in like his original. I mean, this is like a callback to Iron Man 2 or 3, right? Where he's wearing that suit. And
this is the first movie we've ever seen this suit in, actually, specifically.
This is? Mm-hmm. I assumed it was, or is it a reference to the Iron Patriot? I could have sworn it was like.
Definitely a reference to the Iron Patriot, but the
it's
Iron
not
Patriot,
the same one.
Yeah, the one that he's wearing in Iron Man 3 is like, I think it's like the Mark 7. It's based on the Mark 7 or something.
But yeah, I guess yeah, you're right. It does look different, but it's supposed to be a different suit.
I mean, it's huge. It's like he's basically in a mech, which I like the idea that Tony and Rhodey have different preferences. And so like, of course they're going to want their suits to be different.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think they actually do a really good job with that in developing these different characters. God, Gwyneth Paltrow, great actor.
Yeah.
God, and this death
scene. Probably also anti-vax.
Yeah. Well, she's got goop running through her veins, which I'm sure will destroy anything that comes in contact with it.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Downey Jr. making a great choice to say nothing in this scene.
I was going to say the exact same thing. The fact that he doesn't say anything is so much more powerful.
It's insanely powerful. It's crazy. I remember, I'm trying not to cry right now watching this. And even Gwyneth Paltrow, amazing actor. She's like portraying outward calm until she knows Tony's dead. And then she cries. But she won't let herself cry until she knows that he's okay. Like, she has to let him know that they're going to be all right before she breaks. And man, this is just crazy.
Now, a lot of people were upset when they started releasing the deleted scenes that they got rid of the scene where all the Avengers take a knee in respect to Tony Stark. I think that deleted scene is trash. I am so glad they didn't put that in there. I'm so glad they didn't put in the scene where Tony meets Morgan as an adult in the Soul Stone or whatever. Just the cut to the funeral is a much better move.
And we're done. That's the end of our... We're stopped. We're not watching the rest. Do you want to watch the rest? We can keep podcasting.
No, we call it here.
We're calling it. If you're listening at home, you can pause it now. You can. We're not now. We're just riffing on this. Kevin, you can't tell me that isn't one of the best 30 minutes in movie history. I'm tired of people. I'm tired of people being like looking down on Marvel movies and MCU stuff. Like, people always tell me like, oh, this is a good movie. How'd you not like? People are telling me how good The Green Knight is. Like, if I'm bored out of my fucking mind, if it's a fucking chore, I don't want homework when I go to the theater. I want to have a good time. I want to have fun. And I watched this. It was like, you ever listen to, who Jimmy Valvano is? He was like an ESPN guy. They have the ESPYs, I think. They have the Jimmy V Foundation is like ESPN's like cancer thing. And he gave this great speech about what a good day is. And he says, if you laugh, you cry, and you spend time in thought, that's a good day. Dude, I laughed, I cried, and I spent so much time thinking about this. This is a good movie. There's no way that you can tell me that the MCU doesn't produce good movies and that Endgame is an incredible movie. This is more thought-provoking and more passion than I felt about any movie ever in the rest of my life. I'm telling you, this is the most important movie-going experience I've ever had, and I can't believe I will ever have another one as powerful as this. There's no way. This is our generation's Jaws.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is
our generation's Star Wars.
Dude, when you talk about like a grandiose movie, when you talk about movies on an epic scale, like the classical epics, when you talk about like, something being a spectacle, like a blockbuster, this isn't in league with those other movies. This is now that movie. This isn't the bar that they have to clear. This is the ceiling. This is the current ceiling of anything like that. I feel like when you talk about like a blockbuster movie or a spectacle movie, the modern one that comes to mind for a lot of people is Independence Day. Like, immediately my mind goes to that shot of the White House being blown up from Independence Day. And I mean, this surpasses that. Time and time again, the scope of this movie is unbelievable. That final battle in and of itself, the choice to shoot this like a war movie and give it the gravitas of a war movie instead of like a traditional superhero movie, brilliant, because it makes the whole thing feel, I don't know, moving, and it makes the whole thing feel like it has a lot more weight. And I think it makes it feel like it has the kind of weight that, having watched 20 movies leading up to this, it deserves. This is a grand finale.
100%. This is a finale fitting of whatever, 20 movie. I don't remember how many movies there were before this, but it's fitting. It delivers. Nobody complained about this movie. Nobody was like, this wasn't good. Like, I remember this is like universal approval of a finale of like a series of movies. I mean, I saw something, I think it was like some TikTok with like Ben Affleck talking about the future of cinema and, these guys being like, everything's going to be Marvel. But it kind of makes sense. I think one of the things that stood out to me was he said Fargo today would have been, instead of, he worked on the movie Fargo. I think he directed it and acted in it. That's a limited series nowadays. That's an HBO mini series. That's a Mare of Easttown. That's like a Succession, right? Mm-hmm. And the movies are the Avengers or the MCU. And I got to tell you, that's a world that I don't mind living in. I think that's fine, because now I got to pay $16 to go see a movie. I want as close to a sure thing as possible. And I'm telling you, the time and equity that I've put into Marvel, and that they're going to deliver in some capacity. Even the worst Marvel movies I enjoyed in the theater, and there were things I liked about it. And afterwards, I talked about it and I thought about it a lot. Like, there's a lot of equity in that, that I'm not going to get from The Last Duel. Sorry, Ben Affleck.
Well, that conversation also completely omits the concept of how good TV is now. Like, yes. It's as if they're treating it like TV is still stuck in 1990. TV is so good. We were just talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife before this. Spoiler to listeners, we taped these back to back. And one of my only complaints with it is, like, I liked this so much that I kind of wish it had been a miniseries. I would have taken that as like a 4 or 5 episode miniseries. Easy.
Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's not even, I'm sure I think the budget for that was still like 100 million or something like that. But
I mean, it makes sense. But I mean, fucking the Disney shows were like 50 million each. Like, come on. These studios have money, but I guess how do you recoup the cost? But they'll find a way. They always
There's still
do.
A thing with like scale and seeing these fights that doesn't really translate to the series yet. Like big action, to me, they're still figuring out how to make that work on a small scale. But every drama movie, every Oscar nominated movie now would almost be better in like a 6-episode miniseries or a 3-episode miniseries or whatever like that. You spend more time with these characters. You learn more. Like, there's a lot of benefits to doing drama that way, especially if it's drama that doesn't necessarily need a big budget, or you can make it. I mean, you can put it right on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu immediately. People get to watch it immediately. Like, everything's changed. I don't think it's necessarily for the worse. I think they're worried about, they're like, well, I can't make a big budget movie theater drama. And it's like, I don't know. I don't want to see that. I'm not going to pay a lot of money for a drama anymore with no action, no special effects. Like, why am I going out of my way to see that when I can watch Succession at home?
Exactly. I was just going to bring that up. One episode of Succession can shake me to my fucking core. We just watched the episode with I won't say too much in case people haven't watched it.
Don't spoil it. I'm way behind.
Okay. I mean, we're just going through season 2 now. There's an episode that takes place at a work retreat. I mean, my jaw was on the fucking floor. You can pull that kind of thing off. And if what we're talking about is getting deeper into these characters' heads, the same thing that causes these Oscar movies to be 3.5 hours long, you can do that as a miniseries, man. It's better. I can't wait to get hate mail from Breen and Spencer on this. They're going to hate this take. They're going to absolutely despise this take, which is why we're going to have them on here 1 year from today to watch the finale of Endgame with us.
We have a lot of stuff on the docket coming up. I want one final thought because we're wrapping this up. I was reading something about Stan Lee recently and about he coined a term for it. I'm blanking on it now, but it was basically the idea of comic books resetting, and comic books create the illusion of change without actually changing anything. Right? Spider-Man, he's a kid. He's got to learn to be responsible. He learns responsibility. He does his homework. He beats the Scorpion. But then the next day, he's irresponsible again, and he skips stuff. But then he learns how to do it, and he defeats the Green Goblin. Like, whatever. Like, they're overcoming the same trials and tribulations, and they come up with all these ways to write 400 comic books of the same character going through the same kind of changes and like resetting it all the way. And one of the reasons why that's so interesting in the MCU is because they don't have that luxury in the same way. The actors are getting older, like they have to change. And I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, because one of the things that always stood out to me about the MCU was every movie, the characters are taking a dramatic jump off screen, right? We see Captain America one way in one movie. His second movie, he's in like the Winter Soldier. He's like in the Winter Soldier outfit. He's in a different outfit. He's the leader of a military unit, right? Like Iron Man is one way in one movie, and then the next movie he's got 100 suits, and he's been working on all this stuff. Like the characters progress so much off screen, and they progress so much that by the time you get to Endgame, you've had these like beautiful, satisfying arcs, and these endings are satisfying, that they're unable to run it back in the same way. And I think it explains why Endgame is so great. It's a difference between like the comic books, maybe why the comic books can't pull that off, because there are endings in movies. Movies end, actors get old. Endgame is an ending. And I think it just makes me wonder so much more about the future of the MCU, because it can't stop. It can't be the same. Thor can't be Fat Thor again. Thor needs to do something in his next movie. We need to see Thor do something else. He needs to be different. He needs to evolve. He needs to change. We can't run him back. And that's such an interesting challenge for the MCU and like all these creative people. And I mean, I don't know. There's going to be a new Ant-Man movie. What the fuck is Paul Rudd going to do in this next movie? He needs to do something else. He needs to evolve. He needs to keep growing, and he's already grown a lot. But they can't run it back. They have to do something new. The characters have to keep moving forward. And I don't know. I thought that's an interesting conversation we're having about comic book characters. It's comic book characters, you know, in the first like Batman series, we're talking Michael Keaton through Batman and Robin. It's Batman. He's the same guy. But then we get to Christopher Nolan's Batman. And in the first movie, he's an origin story. And then the second one, he's hitting his prime. And the third one, he's an old man, like coming off the bench to get back in the game. Like you have to see this progress. You have to see these character arcs. And I don't know, man, they're all great. It's all great. It makes me excited and anxious for whatever the MCU has next, man. I'm excited. I'll be there. I'm ready. This is great. This is amazing. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about this. This is one of the best movie experiences ever, and one of the best half hours of film history. I'm telling you.
Completely agree. Tim, I'll be sitting right there in the theater next to you. Or if the pandemic is still going on because of Evangeline Lilly, I'll be streaming it live on Disney Plus with you.
And Pepper Potts. Hell yeah, dude. This was fun. I'm glad this worked.
Yeah, me too. What do you think? We got a poll option up on Spotify. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with us? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Did you like Endgame? You want to talk about stuff? Do you guys want to do you guys want to watch Endgame together? I can invite 4 people. Disney wants me to make sure I know who they are, but I can invite 4 more people to a stream. Guys, let's all, how fun would that be if all the Nerdy for 30 fans booked a JetBlue flight from New York to LA and we just watched Infinity War and Endgame back to back? That'd be great. Heck, you know what? You guys can come home. Come back to Florida with me. We'll just fly to Florida and back. Infinity War's down. Endgame back to New York.
This is our version of how you can do like a Weezer cruise now, where it's like you're on this cruise for a week with Weezer. They play like every night. That's going to be that. Wow.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.
Bye.